Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Take, episode 23. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Players Take, for those of you who have not listened before, is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Let's get started, like always, with what we've been playing, which is diddly squat from my friend Montrell over there.
Yeah,
This motherfucker calls himself a gamer, and goddamn if he's played a game in the last 2 weeks.
Don't you do that to me. I've had a stressful ass weekend, and then not a weekend actually. You know, my weekend was pretty
shit.
My weekend was pretty good. You know what? I spent it with my girlfriend. We had a fucking good time. We watched some rom-coms. I kind of cried a little bit from one of the rom-coms. Good shit, man. You know,
You cried to a rom-com?
bro. It was a good rom-com, bro.
I'm trying to think of a rom-com I've cried to. I don't know. I don't cry. I'm a fucking robot. I don't have emotions.
You are.
Well, you ditched us twice trying to play Borderlands 2.
Okay, that's my fault.
I think, yeah, you did it Sunday,
And then Monday.
and then you did it Monday.
No. Yeah, Monday because of the thing.
The thing that happened. The thing that happened in your thing.
That happened, and then Tuesday I had to recover from that thing that happened.
Yeah, we're recording late again.
Yeah, that's my fault, guys.
It's okay. No, it's fine. It's fine.
The name of this podcast is Montrell is his fault. Or this
Yeah.
episode.
We should put a subtitle. The Players Take. Montreal fucked it up.
Episode 23.
Okay. Well, in reality, have you had any time to play anything?
No, I'm literally been.
You literally haven't played a game.
I literally haven't played a game. Yeah,
man.
It's not just. It's like
I should fire you as my co-host.
Yeah, it's not like I'm trying to avoid you guys. I haven't played a game to myself at all. Yeah.
I know. I'm just giving you shit, dude. I'm just giving you shit. It's fine. I will be the one to supply the entertainment for this segment.
You playing Wargroove again?
Dude, I had a good week, man. I've been playing a lot of shit. So we'll start with Borderlands 1 Remastered.
Yeah.
I beat it yesterday. I'm level 37.
So you beat the entire.
I beat the main game.
The main campaign?
Right. Like,
Okay.
obviously, the level cap's 69, so I can keep going if I want,
Yeah.
which I'm going to. My brother said he's like 42 or 43, so I'm going to get my character to that level and then stop, and then I'm going to play a co-op, basically, with him going forward with that. So that game will not be a mainline game anymore. It'll just be kind of a whenever we have time to play kind of game. Borderlands 2, we played for like 30 minutes, so nothing to say there. Well, actually, let me go back to Borderlands 1. Sorry. I didn't actually expand upon my feelings on the game. So it's basically the same as I felt before. The game ends as it was. Like, there's very little. There's like a couple cutscenes that are extremely brief, and there's very little story. Like, a character betrays you, and then they get captured by the faction they betrayed you to, and they get put in a cell, and they're like, hey, these guys suck. I shouldn't have done what I did. Sorry, go save everybody. And then you go save everybody. And that's the end of the game, pretty much. You fight a giant Cthulhu monster at the end of the game, which is fucking weird, dude. Like, that was the weirdest thing about the game. That was, like, the most shocking thing was, like, what? Like, where did this come from? Like, dude,
I'm pretty sure they just put it out there.
Like, I'm just gonna spoil. I'm gonna spoil Borderlands 1 because this. Yeah, I think they did pull it out of their ass. Because, dude, you open the vault. You like spend the whole game trying to find vault key pieces.
Yeah.
And you find 3 of them. You put them together and it makes the vault key. And then at the end of the game, the final confrontation is you at the vault and this asshole character who leads the Crimson Lance, which is a faction you're fighting the whole game. Puts the vault key in and opens the vault, and then the vault opens and it's a fucking portal. Opens to like another dimension or some shit. Some tentacle comes through and just stabs everybody that's present besides you, like through the chest, and then a giant tentacle monster comes out, and that's the final boss.
Really?
And I'm like, it's the weirdest fucking thing to me because the second game really makes very little, if any, reference to this, having played the second game extensively.
Yeah.
And nothing like this really happens in the second game. Like, the Iridians aren't even, like, mentioned, really. Iridium is a thing in the second game. A resource that becomes extremely important in the story.
Iridians are people, I'm
But
assuming.
they're like a they're not people. They're like these weird monsters. Almost like they're very thin and skeleton-like. Okay. And they have really long appendages, and they have these like mask-like faces. Yeah. Or whatever. They're kind of creepy, but they're very rarely mentioned in the second game. And then the vault, you open another vault in the second game, and it's like, I don't know, it's just weird, dude. Like, the whole thing's just weird. So it was kind of weird, weirded me out.
So in the lore of Borderlands, like, who built these vaults?
Supposedly the Iridians did.
Okay.
And there's nobody knows why is like the thing. Okay. And the Iridians are like kind of like the Protheans. They're like this universe's version of the Protheans. They have really high tech technology that nobody understands, but people have found and utilized to kind of make their technology better. Yeah. So that's kind of the thing. And they have the vaults kind of all over the place. Like they place these vaults, and nobody knows why they're there. But that's what's so weird about it, because the first game is like, the fact that it opens a weird portal to a dimension with this giant demon monster, tentacle monster, is like, okay, because nothing like that happens in the other games. Like, it's just, I don't know, it just felt random. And
so do you think, like, Borderlands, they meant to go a different direction with Borderlands?
I kind of think they did. And they decided to veer away from it for one reason or another, and maybe for the better, because this weirded me out. It was totally random, like, and out of nowhere. Like, the game's like, man, the vault's got all these riches for you, and, you know, if you go to the vault, it's going to make you super powerful, and you're going to be the richest person ever. And it's like,
to me, it sounds like Mass Effect.
And
then they kind of like, once they see where Mass Effect was going, they're like, okay, let's go a different direction.
That's true, because this game was contemporary to Mass Effect 2.
Okay.
Yeah, this came out the same year, because Mass Effect 2 came out in the beginning of 2009.
Yeah.
And then this game came out in September of 2009.
Okay.
So, which means it would have been in dev after Mass Effect 1 came out.
Yeah.
So you're probably right. After Mass Effect 1 came out, they probably were like, this game was already in the works, but then after that, they were like, well, they're already kind of doing this, so let's go in a different direction.
Yeah.
And it, to their benefit, I mean, it worked out. Like, I think Borderlands 2 is, like, the lore is, like, way more fleshed out. It's a lot cooler and more interesting. So, yeah. But I like the game. I obviously, as I said, it's basic. I don't think it's anywhere near as robust as Borderlands 2. And, it's not a game that I'm going to sink my teeth into that deeply. Like, I'm happy to beat it. I'm probably going to platinum it because the platinum trophy is really easy. I've gotten most of the trophies already. A lot of them are co-op. The rest of them are co-op based. So when I play with my brother, I'm probably going to finish those off.
All right.
But otherwise, I'll probably we'll try to get to 69, but I'm not like super...
I'm not holding your breath on it.
Yeah, it's not a big priority to me. So yeah, as I said, I played Borderlands 2 for like 30 minutes. And then I got... Grim Dawn came back and rehooked me. Like, I hadn't been playing it for a little while, and then Jet and I just went on this like binge. We played I think we played 5 days in a row. Like, really? 5 nights in a row, dude. Wow. Yeah, no, seriously. And the reason was our characters are starting to get really good now. And at the final session we had on Monday, like when we finished, him and I hit a threshold where we are like really powerful now. Like, our characters are like badasses. Like, I was running around because I'm playing a tanky retaliation character, and I was kind of getting chunked a lot. Like, I wasn't super tanky. I could take some hits, but I was getting hurt, you know?
Yeah.
After I redid all my gear, and because we spent the whole day Monday like farming devotions, and we got all our devotion points maxed out, and we did our devotion trees. Once I did all that, dude, I'm unkillable. Like, I'm barely taking any damage from anything. Like, it's amazing. It's such a good feeling because I've never made a character like this that basically can't die. It's awesome. It's so good. I'm like, I ran around a zone and I like aggroed as much stuff as I could. I'm just standing there and it's all just dying. It's just like so good. I love the retaliation builds because you just don't do anything. Like, you just walk up to things, they hit you and they die. It feels so good. So yeah, no, I'm really digging the game right now. I'm like legitimately desperate to play it more.
Yeah,
because that character and then my main character, I have things on my main character I still need to do to improve that build.
Okay.
So I'm really I really want to play both of them.
Gotcha.
So, I know you guys are going to play League tonight, but honestly, I want to play Grim Dawn. So,
all right.
I might be playing that. I love this game, man. It's just it's so good. It's ridiculous how many options the game gives you. And it's like when you really put something together that's good, it just is so fucking rewarding. Like, it's just so rewarding. It's crazy. So, I know you haven't played it much with us, but
the little I did play, I did like, even though it was like really early game.
It is slow early, depending on your build. It can be very slow. The game can be very slow, but that's my point. It's like a payoff. It's like Game of Thrones was early on. Like there'd be 5 episodes where like not a lot happens, and then all of a sudden it all pays off, and it's amazing, right? That's kind of what Grim Dawn is, and it's just, dude, it feels so good when you get to that final point. So, and yeah, as you mentioned, I randomly kind of got back into Wargroove. I've been like, I've got into this bad habit at work where I would go to lunch and go out and eat. So I'm trying to like not do that. So I started taking my Switch to work again, and it worked. I played 2 sessions of Wargroove for an hour both times, and got through a few more missions. I'm actually not that far from beating this game, honestly. I think I looked online at a walkthrough, and I only have like 10 or 11 more battles to go.
Okay.
So I'm gonna power through it, honestly. I think it's probably only like 5 or 6 hours left, probably.
Okay.
Maybe more than that. Some of the later battles are probably long, but I still like the game. My criticisms from when I first started playing it are still there, but I'm just kind of like embracing it now.
Yeah.
Like, the game is just fun. It's a fun strategy game.
Okay.
And as I said, I definitely recommend it, dude. If you guys can be patient enough to wait for a sale, I would really recommend getting it. Like, if you can get it for $10 or $15, this is a great purchase at that price. I would highly recommend it. So I'm probably going to finish this off. It'd be nice to kind of get a game off another game off the list too. So
all right,
it's good. All right, let's go to the news. All right, big news dropped this week. Death Stranding dropped a trailer, or Hideo Kojima dropped a trailer for Death Stranding, and the game is coming on November 8th. Did you watch this trailer?
Oh, yeah.
In full?
Yes, the whole 8 to 10 minutes. It was like 9 minutes. 9 minutes, yeah.
9 minutes. Well, what did you think?
I think it's very Kojima-like. And by that, I mean,
100%.
I think the story...
I got extreme Metal Gear vibes out of it.
Yes. I think the story... I think this could be our new, like, Metal Gear franchise. I don't think it's going to be as action-packed as the Metal Gear franchise. I say probably by Death Stranding 2, it'll be a little bit more action-packed because the team will probably figure out what direction they want to take the game. This is the first game, so I don't think it's going to really be super action-packed, which is really my main critique of the game, or not the game, but the people watching the game. They're like, oh man, the combat looks really bad. And I mean, granted, it is an early trailer and some of the combat looks janky, but it looks like it was the beginning parts of the game they were showing us. And I'm not trying to give them an excuse, but I'm just saying it looks like that's just the tutorial parts that we were experiencing. I think once we get into the actual meat of the game, it might be a little bit differently. Because to me, I'm getting have you ever played this game called? I think it's called. I just remember the main character's name. His name was Abe. But I think it was Odyssey.
Abe's Odyssey.
Abe's Odyssey.
It's
Oddworld.
Yeah, which there's another one of those games coming.
Yeah,
which we talked about a few weeks ago.
And I love that game. And to me, it wasn't action packed, but it was the way that they did action in that game, right? And I think this is going to be one of those games where it's the way you do the action in the game. Maybe sometimes you are going to be running away. And then also, it's kind of giving me like a Harvest Moon type vibe, or Stardew Valley.
Yeah, well, that was... Okay, a few things for me. So, I think the hype train is going to get out of control for this game.
I think it derailed, actually.
What do you mean?
Like, I think it got de-hyped. I think a lot of people were expecting this game to be something else, and it's not. Just by that trailer. Yeah. But
interesting, because, on my side of Twitter...
Yeah, people are still hyped about it.
It was out of control.
Yeah, on my side of Twitter, it was all people, like, de-hyping it.
I was seeing people, like, oh my god, like, I think a lot of people think this is going to be, like, Metal Gear solid quality level, which it's not.
It's not, yeah.
It's a new game on an engine they've never used before, new IP. They haven't actually had that much time to make this game, like 3 years, which is not that much.
For a Kojima game, it's not.
For a Kojima game, it's definitely not. I just don't think... I think it's unrealistic to expect this game to be of that tier of video game.
Yeah.
You know? So if you're expecting that, I mean, I don't want to burst your bubble or anything, but I think just tone down the expectations. That's where you're at.
When did Metal Gear 1 come out? Metal Gear Solid 1?
97 or 98.
And then... Okay, that's a 3-year span, I was going to say, because Sons of Liberty came out in 2001, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think it was 2001.
Was it that early or was it 2002?
Maybe it was even later than that.
I think it was 2002, and then 3 was 2005.
Okay.
I think.
And that sounds about right.
MGS 4 was 2008 or 2009.
I don't remember.
I think it might have been 2008. Which is actually funny to think about, man. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, and then MGS 5 was 2015. a little bit much.
Yep, November 13, 2001 was MGS 1.
Okay.
Yeah, or MGS 2. Yeah, MGS 2.
When was number 3?
3 was...
2004?
That sounds about right, but I'm going to look at it right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, given that dev cycle...
2004.
2004. Yeah. Okay, given that dev cycle for this game... Yeah, I just don't think it's realistic to expect that high quality bar. The game does look good.
Oh yeah,
I think the character models actually look fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm very surprised. Like the whatever facial capture they did for the actors they're using is incredible. Like they look like who they are.
Well, they're using the same engine that Gorilla uses, so that engine had really good facial capture, mocap stuff. Yeah. Because you know, if you guys play Horizon Zero Dawn, the voice acting and facial capture mocap in that game is phenomenal.
Yeah. So I think the game does look. I got that Harvest Moon vibe from that you were talking about as well, because it seems like there's going to be some sort of building element to this.
Yeah, because it sounds like you were building like the civilization or something like that.
Yeah, which is he said that. Well, he said on Twitter after the fact that the game is going to revolve around connected settlements that you're going to build up over the course of the game. Yeah. And reconnect them because they're disconnected. Yeah. Right, is what he was saying. So I will say there's definitely a horror vibe with the they call them BTs, like beach things is what that stands for. Okay. Those like monsters that are invisible or whatever, or on the whatever the second plane is. Like there seems to be like two different dimensions that are kind of colliding into each other almost.
Yeah, so it looks like when you die, you go into another dimension.
Into that. That's what the Death Stranding is. You don't actually die. You go into that other dimension that the BTs are from.
That's actually a cool concept.
And that's it's very interesting. So it's going to be a gameplay mechanic. There's no game over state in this game.
That's pretty cool.
According to Kojima, I think that's what he said, is that when you die, you go into this other realm and you have to make your way back to the real world.
See, that's why I like his games, because they always take a gameplay element that we are used to and they flip it on its head.
Well, and they also make it a lore piece, right? They're making it part of the world the characters live in, too, right? Which is cool.
Because they did the same thing, like, he did the same thing with, like, Metal Gear, where you thought Colonel, spoiler alert, you thought Colonel the whole time was, like, your friend, and it was actually Arsenal Gear talking to you the entire time.
Dude, I remember MGS2.
That made my head
fuck at the end of the game, dude. Poor Raiden, man. He got... Because, dude, he thought he was talking to Rose the whole game, and it was just some, like, robot version of hers. Oh, my God. Oh, it's so messed up. He's just like, what's going on? Oh, that game is so good. But yeah, no, the game, I think from a story angle, I'm really intrigued by this game. Yeah. I think the world they're building, because it takes place in our world. It's like they mentioned the United States. Oh, okay. Is the place this takes place in.
So they didn't go to, like, because I remember a lot of people thought they crash landed on a different planet.
Yeah, but no, it seems like it's Earth, and it, like the place they're in is the United States, but it's fallen apart. Yeah, that's what the trailer indicated. So yeah, I'm interested from that angle. I think the gameplay, take it or leave it, man. I mean, I don't even know if I care that much. Like, it's not an important thing to me with this game at this point. Yeah,
like, you just want to know about the story. At this
point.
I'm
more interested in the story, and I know a lot of people don't think his games have good stories, but I couldn't
say that.
A lot of people don't think MGS has a good story. I couldn't disagree more, but like, wow. So that's the part of it for me that's interesting. I think the gameplay will come into its own in future installments, like you said, like in Death Stranding 2 or 3 or whatever, however many we get.
Yeah, I'm just interested in like the twist he's going to put in the game, how he's going to incorporate the fourth wall, because even in Metal Gear Solid 1, when you finally meet Meryl, and Colonel tells you like, hey, look on the back of the CD case and that's your codec code, and you're like, what?
Yeah, man. Well, he always does stuff like that. Remember MGS1 with Psycho Mantis, with the memory card thing. And then dude, that's such a cool thing.
And then what's funny about that, in Metal Gear 4 when you fight the Psycho sisters, if you change it to if you change your slot to 2, I'd immediately call you like, this is not going to work on this one, Snake. Because I did that.
That's awesome, dude. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great. So that's the kind of meta stuff he does, and I'm sure there's going to be things like that in this game.
Yeah.
And he does that in a very cinematic way, too.
Exactly.
Where the game, you feel like you're watching something, but you're actually playing it.
Yeah. He kind of reminds you like, hey, this is still a game. Like,
well, dude, do you remember at the end of MGS4, too, when you're fighting Ocelot in that fist fight, and it goes through the different iterations of generations, and it's like the different iterations of fighting games, like for each version, for each like game, so that was like, and it's like a fighting game. You have the health bar and everything. It's like a 2D fighter. It was cool. So he does cool stuff like that too. I think that's the thing with his games, is like this is a day one purchase for me no matter what. I don't care how bad the game is. It's just his games are worth experiencing. It's an experience. Hideo Kojima makes experiences. Like, he doesn't, like, I don't look at him as somebody who makes games necessarily. I don't put him on the, like, he's not making a Borderlands, he's not making that's a video game. Like, he's not making Grim Dawn. That's a video game. Like, he makes, to me, he makes an experience that
that's why he's so respected in the industry, because the way, like, who would think to use death as a game over screen as a mechanic in the game? Like, I mean, people have done it before, but like, he's not in this way. Like,
he's gonna put his spin on it, though. Right? Yeah, and it's cool. It's like, I love the idea of there not being a game over state. The game can still be hard without that. So that's an interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they do it, how they did it. So I'm excited, man. The fact that we're getting it this year is really surprising.
Yeah, I can't believe it either, man.
I was shocked when the trailer came out and it said November 8th. I was like, wow, dude. Like, I didn't think this game... I was expecting this game next fall at the earliest.
Yeah.
So it's the thing is, that's what indicates to me the scope of this game is not that large.
Yep.
I think they are very focused, and they're probably making a short experience. Like, I'm gonna wager at most 10 to 15 hours, probably.
Really? I'll give it 20 hours at least.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just because of the building aspect.
That's the part, that is the part that's kind of making me think it might be more, but that's not predicated on the story necessarily.
Okay.
Right? The story could be 10 to 15 hours, and there's some post-game stuff you can do.
Yeah.
And there is some multiplayer, potentially.
Yeah, he did say something about
some
that.
Multiplayer interactions, so we'll see kind of, I guess, what the game is, but man, the fall is looking beefy right now.
You remember, we were like...
There was nothing. Nothing announced. Dude, it was like 2 months ago. There was like literally nothing announced.
Yeah, we thought this fall was going to be trash, man.
Yeah, all of a sudden, dude, like, everything's getting announced, and man, we're getting some heavy hitters. Borderlands 3, this game, I think Jedi Fallen Order.
I think Modern Warfare, I know you're not excited by it, but...
That's going to be big, though.
Modern Warfare is coming back, and they're remastering the entire game.
Yeah.
They're actually, like, redoing it, so... I'm excited for that, because they said no gimmicks and stuff, and I want to see how far they go with that line. But yeah,
and as we're about to talk about in a second, another Pokemon game is coming out this fall too. So, dude, it's gonna be.
And then in the summertime we have Fire Emblem Houses.
Fire Emblem 3 Houses coming out in July. So, dude, we got a lot coming out in the rest of the year. As much as this year has been disappointing so far in terms of the big releases, I think the back half of the year is going to be very impressive. Now, the thing is, with this announcement, though, it does kind of indicate, I think it's obvious that The Last of Us is delayed into 2020.
I can't see them putting those back-to-back heavy hitters like that.
They wouldn't put them together like that. They usually do one a quarter at most, if they have that many to do. So they like to space them out. So I mean, Jason Schreier did say, I think in his article about this game, that Last of Us 2 is probably aiming for February or March.
That's reasonable.
Next year.
Yeah.
So that sounds realistic to me. They need a little bit more time to finish everything up.
Yep.
And dude, that's gonna be a big game next year too. And then Ghost of Tsushima is probably next year as well.
Oh, I forgot all about that game. At some point,
yeah, I know that's another big game. So, dude, like next year is not gonna be a slouch.
Man, PlayStation's not pulling any punches, man.
Well, dude, and plus we got Xbox next week. You know, they said they're announcing 14 first-party games that they're gonna have at their conference.
Yeah, I think a lot of those are gonna be indies.
I know, but I do wager a lot of their games are a few of their games are gonna be coming out this year and next year.
Yeah, what about that other game they didn't announce it, but Obsidian's making that Star.
Oh, dude, Outer Worlds, that's coming out in August too.
Yeah,
man. Oh my god, I forgot about that one. Yeah. That's not Microsoft's published. They're not publishing that.
Yeah,
but,
they just showed that they're
Obsidian was already in production when they purchased them for that game. But,
okay.
Yeah, it's coming out in August too, dude. So it's like we got some heavy hitters.
Then we got WoW, man.
Oh, WoW Classic, yeah, man. And then Warcraft 3 Reforged at some point. Oh, yeah, I know nobody gives a shit about that except for me, but I'm playing the shit out of that. So, dude, man.
Didn't they rebalance and everything?
Yeah, they've been doing balance patches and they've been redoing the game.
Yeah, man.
Dude,
I think this year might actually turn out to be pretty good.
It's like the back 6 months.
Yeah.
The first 6 months are trash heap, except for like Grim Dawn, and like that's man.
Man, what else? Yeah, I really can't.
Wargroove was this year, which I've been having fun with.
Resident Evil
for
me. Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
For me. I think that was it.
For me, yeah, I've been having a bad.
Oh yeah, it's been terrible for you.
Yeah. So yeah, exciting. November 8th. That's big surprise. There's like 4 different versions of the game you can buy too.
Oh, that shit,
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's one thing they need to get rid of. But
I'm so tired of that stuff.
They're probably not going to get rid of that since we're trying to get rid of loot boxes.
Yeah,
I'd rather have that than loot boxes. But
yeah. All right, let's move on. So as we mentioned, Pokemon, they did a direct for Pokemon Sword Shield that happened today, day of recording. We talked about this extensively off mic, but my feelings on this have changed over the course of the day. It's weird because I didn't actually watch it until before we recorded. So at first, when you were telling me stuff about it, like what was kind of, and I was reading some stuff about the announcements as well, I was not happy about it. I was very like, man, dude, this Dynamax thing sounds really dumb. This sounds like Mega Evolutions, but maybe worse. I don't know. So I watched the trailer again, I watched the direct again, and I'm actually back in. I was like out, and now I'm back in. So I think I'm probably still gonna pick this game up. I think the thing that I'm like really excited about is that what do they call it, the wild area or something like that.
Yeah
that looks really
cool. That's what I was trying to tell you.
That looks really cool, and I am really, dude, it like looks like a Xenoblade game almost,
bro.
I feel like that studio, I have a feeling that studio, dude, I'm telling you, I think that studio is literally like advising Nintendo on a bunch of their games.
Really?
I can see their influence like everywhere because dude, they obviously did Breath of the Wild, they worked on Smash Bros. Dude, that area just looks like a Xenoblade like area to me.
Yeah.
Just based off all the ruins and stuff like that there was around there, it was just cool looking, and like the different environments. So I'm excited from that front. The Dynamax thing is like almost seems like such a minor thing that isn't actually going to ruin the game, because after watching the direct, basically Dynamaxing is going to be this thing where your Pokemon becomes like supersized. It's like turns into basically like a kaiju.
Yeah.
And they get like super powered attacks, but you can only use this in specific areas, which are basically gym battles, and they didn't even really say anywhere else you can do it. So it seems like it's going to be a minor thing that isn't going to be prevalent everywhere, which is good. I'm happy about that because Mega Evolutions really turned me off. I wasn't a fan of those because they didn't apply to every Pokemon, and you could use them whenever you wanted, pretty much, as far as I understand it. So it was a kind of a mechanic that I didn't personally like. So I mean, what are your feelings on the game? Have you kind of vacillated like me, gone back and forth with it?
Yeah, I have. I even tweeted that I'm talking all this junk about Pokemon, but I'm still going to buy it. And the reason why I'm going to buy it is because, like you said, the world looks fucking phenomenal.
The area looks so cool.
Yeah, when they were showing, I actually watched direct and was watching this stuff, and like how they showed the area and the culture surrounding the area, how everything's going to be. Like, it looks fucking cool. Like, I'm like, man, this would be so dope. Only issue I have, like, they improved everything I want with the Pokemon game.
Yeah.
The only issue I have is the simplistic battle system.
Yep. Which isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Sadly.
And besides that, though, like, I think the design of the Pokemon they showed actually looked really
I liked everything
original,
I saw,
like,
dude.
in my opinion. Like, even, like, we're on a different side of the fence with the legendaries. I think the legendaries kind of look cool.
I like the shield one.
Yeah, I like the sword one.
I like the sword one, too. It's just the fact that he has a sword in his mouth. It's fucking weird, dude. Where does he get it?
We don't question these things.
Where did he get the sword?
There's a chandelier Pokemon.
Did he pull it out of a stone? Is he King Arthur in Pokemon form? Like, come on.
How does the chandelier Pokemon exist?
I don't fucking know.
Exactly. So we just gotta accept it.
I don't want to accept it. Explain it to me, Nintendo.
They probably are.
Where did he get the sword?
They probably are going to explain it.
Where did he get the goddamn sword? The shield Pokemon is just like a fox with a shield mane. Like, it looks like a mane that like it kind of looks like a shield.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool looking. I like that one. So I'm probably getting shield. I was gonna get sword because I like swords, but looking at the designs, I like the shield one better.
Now, in that trailer though, they did show that it looks like they're probably going to combine themselves into some kind of Pokemon.
Which they've done that in the past with. I think they did that with Palkia and Dialga in Gen 4. I think they combined or something like that, and they turned into Arceus or something along those lines. There's something about those two that like combined together that Arceus came out.
Okay.
Which is that like giraffe-ish legendary that's like a normal type.
Yeah.
But he's like super OP or whatever. I think that was him. That might have been Giratina too. The one that's on the cover for Platinum, the centipede looking one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're related to that one in some way where the two of them need to be together for it to show up or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be the same way for this for these two legendaries.
Something else will happen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going to get it. I'm looking forward to it. I think the Dynamax thing was like souring me on the game all day, and then when I watched the direct, I was like, oh, okay, it's just going to be something I'm only going to have to put up with occasionally. Yeah. Like, it's not...
It's a standard Pokemon game from majority
yeah, it
of the
seems
time.
like it's standard otherwise. And honestly, dude, the gym thing, the fact that gyms take place in, like, a stadium...
That's cool.
That is so cool. Dude, I kind of want them to make those battles more cinematic, which is what this is, but almost in a way that, like, the gym leader talks to you and, like, says stuff to you, and maybe there's an announcer in the arena and stuff like that. Like, that would be super cool, dude. But...
man, they could take it back to, like, Pokemon Stadium announcer.
Yeah, man. Dude, that's what I'm saying. I think that's asking a little bit too much. I don't think that's what we're going to get, but, dude, down the road maybe, like, I'd love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that would be cool. The battles against gym leaders should be big occasions, right?
Yeah. Because that's honestly what made Pokemon Stadium really cool. It's not the fact that you were fighting in the stadium, because it honestly didn't have an audience.
It had no audience. It was just an empty stadium.
But, like, the announcer really made it feel like you were at a fucking battle. Like,
well, what it reminded me of was the first scene in the anime where Ash is watching a Pokemon battle on TV.
Yeah.
And there's an announcer. Yeah. That's what Pokemon Stadium reminded me of.
Oh, yeah.
Is that kind of thing. So, so that's what this area is cool. They keep saying that this area is very, like, Pokemon battles are, like, so popular here that the trainers are, like celebrities, basically. Like, everybody's so into battles that it's almost like a sport for them,
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool from that front. So I'm into it.
I'm like I said, like, people think I hate the game. Like, I'm like the game's art direction. The game's everything about this game looks fantastic. Like, I've never been this excited in a while for a Pokemon game, except for, like, maybe when X and Y came out. But even with X and Y, like, I was like, oh, okay, this looks cool. This is what I wanted. But this game, like, in recent years, has looked like, I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
Only problem I have is I don't feel like I feel like the excuse that the battle system should be simple for kids is a fallacy now, because kids are playing, like, you have like 5 or 6 year olds playing fucking Fortnite.
Dude, bro, I was playing Warcraft 2 when I was like fucking 6. Like, come, guys. Kids aren't as stupid as you think they are. They're really not.
That's what's pissing me off.
Yeah, they're not as dumb as people think they are. Like, do you forget when you were a kid? Like, kids are sponges. They absorb things so fast. Yeah. They learn them really quickly. So they can handle some nuance. Yeah. They can. And I think the thing is, too, I think people are really guarded and really want to defend this series in a way that kind of drives me crazy. Like, they almost don't want to see it get better. And that's kind of my issue with the way people approach this discussion is like, I don't want the series to completely transform into something different. Yeah. I just want the games to get better, and that's my problem. I was telling you this when we were talking earlier. Dude, like, I was playing Let's Go Eevee, and I love the Kanto region. It's my favorite region in Pokemon. You know, I love Gen 1, dude. Love it. And for some reason, I just couldn't play that game. Like, at a certain point, I got to St. Anne and got to the 3rd gym, and I just dropped it and never picked it back up.
That's the same place I dropped it.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to fight battles. It was weird. I didn't want to fight battles. Like, I wasn't having fun. The main
mechanic of the game you don't want to do.
I just wanted to run around and like catch Pokemon. Like, I didn't really want to fight battles. It was weird because the battles aren't fun. It's really, because, dude, it's not nuanced like some other turn-based strategies are. Like Bravely Default. Bravely Default's a good example. And then Octopath Traveler. Those games are turn-based RPGs, just like Pokemon is, where you have a party. Obviously, you don't have a party in Pokemon besides like double battles or whatever, or triple battles, but that's the issue, is that when you have a party, it gives you a lot more to work with, where you can kind of use one character to buff, use another character to heal, the other two, one's setting up damage, and then the other one does huge amounts of damage or something like that. Whereas Pokemon, it's a 1v1, and it's literally just like if, say, I'm fighting with Charizard, I'm just using my most powerful attack until the enemy dies. Yeah. You know, unless there's some special circumstance happens where I need to use something else. I'm just using whatever my most powerful attack is on the enemy until it dies. And that isn't... There's no strategy, really. There's not a lot of strategy to Pokemon, and that's my issue with it.
You're right. Honestly. And that's why I was trying to explain to people. People kept telling me about stat changes and, you know, the physical and special split happened in Gen 4 where, you know, if you have a fire punch, it's a physical but special attack. And I'm like... That's still within the confines of the same formula. Yeah. When I play a double battle, like for instance, let's go Pikachu. When I played that game, the Team Rocket fights were so fun to me because there were double battles, and it changed the way I played the game. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just A. It was like, okay, I kind of got to think about how I use my Pokemon now. Yeah. Like, so even that aspect, it doesn't really need to be fast paced. Just change up the way the game works. Like, you don't have to make the game action packed. You can make it fast paced. You can make it really fast paced as a turn by turn game. We've seen games do that before. Yeah. Or make it a 3-on-3 battle. But like, you don't have to incorporate every battle, but like, make it if you want to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like, dude, something you said, it kind of hit a chord with me. Is maybe make it active time battle, like Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VII kind of thing, where it's not just pure turn based. Yeah, maybe that's what Pokemon needs. That kind of just that. That's just, it's a little change. It's really not that big of a deal. It's not big of a deal. But it would make it more active and a little bit more. And honestly, it would give the speed stat some more... Yes. It would give the speed stat a different function than it currently has, which is lame. I hate the speed stat because it's literally just like, who goes first? It's like initiative in D&D or something like that. And I don't like the way it works. It doesn't boost your evasion. It doesn't give you a chance to critical hit or anything like that. There's nothing else coming out of that stat. So it's like, speed's obviously important. You want to go first in Pokemon, but... Yeah. It's like, that's all it is, though, you know? And if you had active time battle, the speed stat could determine how fast your bar fills, right? Yep. And so just a small change like that might help the game, you know? And I think that's my problem, is that it's just, like you said, it's like, you press, once you figure out what attack you want to use in the Pokemon you're fighting, A. and then you wait for the animations to play out, then they take their turn, animations play out, and then your turn, A, and then the animations play out, and then they probably faint, and the next Pokemon comes out. The only fun part of battling to me is swapping your Pokemon around.
Yeah.
You know, it's like figuring out which Pokemon you want to use for the Pokemon they're about to send out. And that's part of my problem, too, is the fact that they tell you, this is a thing that's been in the series from the get-go, is the fact that they tell you what Pokemon's about to come out is... I think they need to take that out.
Yeah.
I think it's a way too big of an advantage for the player because you can immediately switch. And this is something I started to do in Pokemon Let's Go, is I stopped switching when they tell me what the opponent's Pokemon is. I keep the Pokemon I have out, and switch after they send it out. So it's fair. Like, I have to give up a turn in order to switch.
Yeah.
You know, I don't just get to switch and have the advantage, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing with the game. It's just like it becomes mindless at a certain point. You're like literally like, oh, grass type Charizard, water type Pikachu.
Well, have you ever battled a human like that? The Switch game would continue to go. Like people would continue to switch out Pokemon until like one person kind of gives up, because that has happened to me before. Not being involved with like a human player, and we just switch out Pokemon until we land on it or whatever. Now the speed stack comes into fruition in that instance because maybe before I can switch out my Pokemon, that Pokemon is too fast to attack the Pokemon I'm using. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But like, give me some type of restriction when I switch a Pokemon. I can't switch for 3-4 turns. That person can't switch for 3 or 4 turns. So we're stuck with this Pokemon now for 3 or 4 turns.
Which I think that's a great idea. I think it should be like that because the willy-nilly switching is like you're not having to adapt to the circumstances you're in. You're trying to get out of the circumstances you're in and into circumstances you want to be in.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like you're not. It's like it's kind of like PUBG to me, like where you land and you don't get a good gun. And you have to adapt to the fact that you don't have a good gun, right? Like you have to figure out how you want to play the game around that. If you don't find a sniper with a scope, you need to move differently.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to play the game differently. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, is that kind of nuance, right? I think that's what Pokemon is missing.
Well, that's what they do in the cartoons, right? If someone does have a Blastoise versus a Charizard, that trainer figures it out. Like, okay, I have to figure out all my Pokemon are down, and I got to figure out what I'm gonna do with my Charizard. Yeah. You know, like, I think I watched one episode or something where he was fighting like a water type monster, and when the water type did a water gun, he was like, shoot flamethrower at it, and it creates steam, and he's like, oh, the water type couldn't see through the steam, and he used like another attack to
seismic toss.
Yeah, seismic toss. And I'm like, what if that was incorporated somehow in the games? Like
interactions like that between attacks or between Yeah,
and I feel like we have the technology for it.
We totally do. It's just that they're so glacial with the way they do changes that it's to get to that point. It's going to be like 30 years from now. You know, it's like, and I think that's the other issue I have is these games. This game is going to play almost exactly the same as Red and Blue. Yes, there's tons of accoutrements surrounding the main game, and there's like the graphics are way better, and obviously the game's probably going to be a lot larger than the original games, and there's more Pokemon, and there's online play and stuff like that, but that's just making the game more robust, and Pokemon is extremely robust. Yeah. It's become extremely robust, and it's been that way for 10 plus years. But that's the thing, is you're making the game more robust without making the game necessarily better, right? And that's my main problem, is I just don't think the battles are they're just not interesting, man. They're not, a lot of the time. Even when you're fighting high-powered Pokemon, it's a lot of it is who's got the higher level or the more stats or the right move, to win in one round, And I think another thing that I don't like is the fact that type advantage is so overplayed. Yeah. It's insane how big of a deal it is. Like, you get a 2-time damage bonus for a type advantage, and then if you have 2 type advantages, it's 4 times, which is insane.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm
so
talking
why don't
about.
you make it like 1.5 times damage or 1.25 times damage, where it's not as like devastating if you're at a type disadvantage?
Yeah, and honestly, that's
the show does stuff like that all the time, where Ash beats somebody with a type disadvantage, like his Pokemon,
because he thinks outside the box. To me, the way the show, like the way I look at gym leaders, right, in the show rather, It's like, okay, yeah, I'm fighting Brock, and I know he's a rock type trainer or a rock type person, right? Mm-hmm. But it's probably the way he uses the rock types to express his way of rock type monsters or whatever. He may use Geodude in a different type of way than the average Pokemon trainer. Like these are the reasons why these are people gym leaders, because they use these Pokemon types in different ways outside the norm. With that, you get it in the anime. But in the game, you don't get that at all. You don't. Yeah. It's just a type advantage, like you said. Like,
yeah, you just walk into the gym with 6. Like you're going to the grass gym, you walk in with 6 fire types.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like, obviously sometimes they try to circumvent that because now you have dual types. You know, and stuff like that. You can't just do 6 fire types and expect to win. But like generally speaking, like that's kind of really all you need to do. Yeah, you know? It's like, so I think that's kind of the problem is there's not a lot of nuance to the game. I know a lot of hardcore Pokemon players will argue that the breeding and like getting the right natures and IVs and EVs and all that stuff is nuance. No, that's all bonus shit at the end of the game. If you're super hardcore, I've done it before. I know it's very rewarding, actually. It is. If you go through the time to do it and make a team of your own that is truly what you want and is like min-max, it's very rewarding. However, that's not the game. That's not the main game. That's not the game that 99% of players are experiencing. Like, very few people actually do that shit. The game people are experiencing is the animation, enemy attacks, animation. That's the game most people are experiencing. That's the part of the game I'm saying we should improve, or they should try to improve. And we did say, like if you really do want to change the gameplay, Ni no Kuni had a battle system that I feel like could be perfectly adapted to a Pokemon game. Try it in a side game, man. Try it in a side game at some point, because Ni no Kuni, you didn't control your familiars directly. They auto-attacked and did stuff on their own, and based on your relationship with them, they take your commands, you know? And things like that. You could totally do that in Pokemon, and I think it could work really well. And you mentioned maybe some of those things like the Mega Evolution stones or things like that. Like, maybe you use that as a mechanic where you take direct control of the Pokemon instead of having to give commands, like for a brief time period or something like that. So, I don't know. It's some ideas that I think I would love to see. It doesn't have to be anything groundbreaking, though. You know? They don't have to destroy what Pokemon is to make it better.
And I think that's what people think we want, but it's like, I just want the game to be, I don't want to say great again, because I guess it's already great, but I just want the game to evolve.
But dude, like, the 4 move limit on Pokemon, I'm over that shit, man. I'm so sick of having to get rid of moves that like sound cool just because it's not one of the best moves. You know? It's like, I want to be able to use some of those niche moves whenever I feel like it, you know, but I can't because I only have 4. You know, so I don't know. I'm excited about the game though. I think I'm definitely going to achieve it.
It does look good though.
Yeah, it does look good. The region looks fantastic. So, all right, let's move on. Anthem. We haven't heard about Anthem in a while.
Yeah, we kind of try to stop talking about it because there was so much news about it.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, nothing was really happening. There was a month period from the end of April to the end of May where they didn't say literally anything about the game, and then they just dropped Cataclysm news last week on May 28th or 29th. Right before the end of May. So they announced that the Cataclysm is coming, and it... let's just say it doesn't look that groundbreaking. It's so basically what it is, it's going to be an 8-week event that 2 weeks of it are going to be a pre-event, and then the 6 weeks are going to be the actual Cataclysm event. There's going to be some new missions, and there's going to be a new area of the map called the Cataclysm. And this is an area where a cataclysm happens, supposedly, and you're going to do a bunch of activities to kind of generate score and get these tokens and things like that to get new rewards and loot. And the loot maximum is going up by 5 for legendaries and masterworks.
Okay,
they said. And
I mean, what does that mean to us, though?
Dude, I'm just, the reaction to this has been really tepid. I don't think anybody cares. It doesn't really look that interesting.
It doesn't.
The gameplay I saw they showed of it is like, dude, it's like
a filter.
Yeah, it looks like a filter over the game, it's like nothing interesting's really happening. It's not like what they pitched, which is like these giant electrical storms.
Yeah,
the ground is like an upheaval and is like coming apart, and
that's what we
like,
expected. I mean, just from the lore itself, it sounds like the world was going to change.
Devastating.
Yeah, like
these are devastating events, and what they're showing us is like it's just like an area that's like blue. It's like I'm like
an area that's blue.
I'm like, man, dude, like, man, what are you doing over there, guys? Like, I kind of feel like. I really believe they're trying to just slow play this until they can just close the game.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it looks like.
At this point, man, if they said we're closing the game and we're going to remake it, do what you got to do.
They're not going to do that, though. I think they're just going to close it. I think this game's dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sad because the potential was there, you know? Like,
yeah. Oh, for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The potential was definitely there. And it's weird to see a game that was in dev for 7 years come out like a wet fart and then just die.
Yeah, man.
I mean, the fact that EA is like not even... It doesn't feel like they're even trying that hard to rehabilitate this game, you know?
They should double... If I was EA, I would double down on this game because someone...
Me too.
I would actually see the potential in the game, but they're not.
Dude, going a month with no communication to the community at all, that's unforgivable. Like that indicates to me that you guys don't really like. It's one of two things: either they don't care or they're scared. They're too scared to say anything.
I think it's the latter. They're too scared to say anything. But, I feel like at this point, anything. Because let's be honest, right? I'll be honest. I'm not defending them, but anything they say will be used in a court of law.
Can and will be used against you.
Yeah, like anything they say will be used against them. So I feel like at this point, just go dark. But at least explain to people like what you're doing, why you're going dark. You know what I'm saying? They don't even have a roadmap of like to be.
Yeah, they deleted the roadmap a few days ago.
They should have
there's nothing in its place.
Yeah, and they should have something at least for the players to look forward to, but they don't have that. So that just leads me to believe that this game's going to die soon.
Yeah, it's a sad situation, man. I like it's not even permanent content. It's an 8-week event. You know, it's like what, dude? It just makes me wonder. Like, dude, at the end of the 8 weeks, is the game just going to shut off? Is that the cataclysm? Is that the cataclysm?
Yeah, that's it. I think that the event's just going to end.
Like,
and I want to know like. At least they'd be like, oh, yeah, we're going to change the map up. It's going to be like a snow map now. And some areas are not going to be accessible or something like that. At least try something. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm done talking about this.
I know. We're so we don't even want to talk about this game. It's just like sad. I'm really angry about it because we like the game, dude.
Yeah.
That's what's so dumb. Is like we liked Anthem from a lore perspective and even gameplay.
Yeah, it had a Diablo-esque feel to it.
It just was so barren.
Yeah,
it had nothing going for it. Oh, it's so depressing. It's really upsetting. It's really, really upsetting. And I feel really bad for the fan base of this game, like the people who are dedicated, that really, really tried to stick with it. You know, there were people that were still defending this game a month or two after launch.
Yeah,
and I imagine they're all gone.
Yeah,
they can't. That Reddit must be a nightmare.
They're probably silent.
Yeah, it's sad, man. All right, moving on. There was a story written by Polygon about the anti-loot box bill, and it is titled "Anti-Loot Box Bill Poses a Real Threat to Sports Video Games." And do you want to kind of go over what this article kind of contained and was trying to argue for?
Yeah, basically it was just trying to say like this would kill the sports game industry as far as money-wise, because where would they get their money to buy these licenses for these video games? According to the article, these licenses to play these video games, or to make these video games, rather, cost billions of dollars. So if you don't know, I'll explain a little bit, brief synopsis. Say if I'm a developer and I want to make an NBA game, I have to ask the NBA to have their license to play these games, to make the video game. Same thing for NFL, same thing for the MLB. I have to ask them for their license to make the video game. They give me the license, I make the video game, bada bing, bada boom, you got a sports game. Now for the NFL, they EA has exclusively bought rights to that franchise or to the NFL, so no one else outside of EA can make NFL games.
Much to the world's dismay, it's been 14 years.
14 years
to happen to.
So they have to I'm assuming, like, we don't know the specifics of how often they have to re-up on these licenses and things of that nature, but we're assuming they have to re-up either every year or every couple of years. And like the article tried to point out, these cost billions of dollars to do. Now, what a lot of people were saying, what me and you said as well, how bad is your game that you have to rely on a gambling mechanic of whales to buy this game or to continue the game, the franchise? Because honestly, they're not making their money off sales anymore, physical sales or digital sales. They're making their money off these things called Ultimate Team, which is like loot boxes. You know, you buy a booster pack of cards and you get these players. You can make your team.
We talked about this. And we had an EA. I think we had an episode where we talked about EA.
And then for 2K, they got VC points where you can make your My Player better.
I'm less familiar with 2K's.
All right, so form. So like with 2K, you used to be able to. It was an RPG primarily, right? You make your character, you play a couple of games, you build points in the stats that you want to make your character. Now you can just buy that shit, and they severely nerfed how many points you can earn by actually playing the game.
And then they want you to buy the difference, right?
Exactly. So. That's pretty much what this article was trying to tackle, and he was just saying that, you know, these companies need this money to support these games, whereas before these companies were making their money based off the games themselves.
Well, so one of the first sentence of this article, I quote, if passed in anything close to its proposed form, Senator Josh Hawley's anti-microtransaction legislation will punish, if not obliterate, a staple genre of video gaming for offenses it never really committed. What is he talking about?
First, like I just said, guys.
What you talking about, bro? They never committed?
$800
what are you talking about?
$800
The
million
card packs in Madden Ultimate Team are loot boxes. What are you talking about? Also, fuck EA. They dug this grave. You dug this grave. Did you think you were gonna get away with this forever? Did you think that was really gonna happen? And you decided. And this is what gets me with these video game corporate heads, whatever you want to call them, executives. They get so hooked on a single thing that they don't see the forest for the trees, in the sense that they don't have a backup plan. What happens if your microtransactions go away or your loot boxes go away? Guess what? Your games don't exist because there's no merit to them. They have no merit outside of the loot boxes and the microtransactions. This
article tells me, because you remember we said a couple weeks ago that they'll think of something else to like replace the microtrans or the loot boxes or whatever. This article kind of leads me to believe they don't have a backup plan to all the money they were making.
They don't. I mean, they will try to think of something else. Some of them will fail and some will succeed. That's the thing. It's a copycat game. So if somebody figures out something that's as lucrative as loot boxes, everyone else is going to start doing it. That's the thing. It only takes one, but the problem is in the meantime, games like Madden and FIFA, dude, if they can't do Madden and FIFA Ultimate Team, they're done. That's their main bulk of their revenue from those games. They make nearly $1 billion off both of those games every year, just off the microtransactions. You know,
not even the physical sales.
And that's probably doubling the physical sale revenue that they get. You know, from selling physical copies, and it's the fact that they didn't think this was a possibility is so indicative of the way they do business. They think that we're all idiots or something, like, dude, like that we're not educated or something, or that we don't think for ourselves, or that the government was never going to pay attention to them, or that we weren't going to bring it up to the government that they're doing this shit to our games.
And the thing is, we gave them a chance to regulate themselves.
I know we did multiple times, dude. Like,
we don't want to go to the government.
Yeah, No, and the way the ESA continues to like try and pretend that loot boxes aren't disgusting and that they're not a detriment to your play, like your enjoyment of a game, is so disgusting. It's so irritating the way they talk about loot boxes, microtransactions. It's just gross. It's like patently gross, man.
And this article is the reason why I really hate Polygon, but
but that first line that I read is unbelievable. Yeah, can't believe that.
I understand, like they're probably trying to play devil's advocate, which is cool for clicks, but
this isn't a devil's advocate situation. Yeah, I have zero sympathy for all of these sports games. Fucking zero.
And you love sports.
Dude, I would play the shit out of Madden every year if it was a good game. It's not a good game. That's the problem. It's a game that's trying to extract money from you at every single corner. Yeah. Everything you click on is like, hey, Madden Ultimate Team, just fucking buy this stupid fucking pack we have. You know,
can't
it's like,
even play 2K offline. If you try to play 2K offline,
I think Madden's the same way.
Yeah. If you try to play 2K offline and create a character offline, you can't play it online.
I think Madden's the same way.
Like, it's ridiculous.
You can't play the game offline. You have to connect to the EA servers. And by the way, the EA servers are terrible. And dude, it's like if it's one thing to make, actually, good example, MLB The Show, right?
Yeah.
That is the exclusive MLB game. Nobody else makes MLB games. It's a Sony exclusive.
Yep.
It's only on PlayStation. That game sells like crazy every year. It's like 10 million.
It goes under the radar.
Yeah, it's like an 10 million seller every year. Like the game sells nuts, like crazy numbers. But all I've ever heard about that game is that it is a high quality experience. And yes, I did learn through this article that it does have microtransactions.
Yeah.
But I have heard very little in the way of complaining about that, the way I do about Madden, 2K, all these other games. Maybe it's because baseball's under the radar and isn't as popular as football and soccer and basketball, but I have not heard much about it. And the thing is, I think the game is robust. I think it has a robust career mode compared to some of these other games, which they don't anymore.
Yeah.
And I think if they took the microtransactions away from that game, I think that game would be fine.
Yeah, it probably
would. I think it would still sell. I think they'd have a core game that's still fun.
Yep.
That's the problem. If you take the microtransactions out of Madden, what are you left with? You're left with online play and then franchise mode, which
hasn't been touched in like
a fucking skeleton.
Yeah.
The game, like franchise mode, sucks in Madden. It's terrible. It's a travesty what that is, dude. NFL 2K5, which was the 2K version of football, has a better franchise mode than any version of Madden I've ever played, and that's 14 years ago on the PS2.
That's crazy.
2 generations later, and I can't say that a single Madden I've ever played has a better franchise mode than that game. That is bonkers.
He's not living in nostalgia. Like, it's true.
That is bonkers, dude. That game was built with single player in mind. And obviously that doesn't sell copies necessarily anymore, but maybe it would if you actually made it really high quality.
Well, that's why 2K's My Player was so good, because they built it within the confines of you're just a single player, you know what I'm saying? But then when people start taking their My Player created players online, they're like, oh, okay, now we can start making money off this.
Yeah.
And obviously people wanted to make their players better than other players. So, I mean, it just got really bad. But, like, just think about it, right? When it was competition between EA and 2K games for, like, sports games, like, it was good for the players because each game got better and better and better. But now everyone's going their own separate paths. Yeah. And it's just it's terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I don't think defending these companies is worth it.
It's not.
It's not. These games are literally the vile bottom of the barrel
I'm
of
honestly surprised
microtransaction games.
He's a good writer, because if he can write bullshit like this and just keep going, like, kudos to you, bro. Like, you did your job.
I mean, maybe he believes it. I don't know, dude. Like, it's just... what is there to defend here? These games are, like, to me, they're vile. Like, they're worse than Destiny 2. They're worse than Anthem. Not Anthem. Anthem's a bad example. They're worse than League of Legends. They're worse than Dota, because as we've said before, those games have core gameplay that is fun, that doesn't require the microtransactions to be fun.
Every Madden that comes out has a fucking compilation of bugs that people make.
Dude, no, they barely improve the game. And remember how they started doing long shot with the story mode for a couple of years?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not in the next Madden. They're
Really?
done with that already. Yeah, they're already done with that.
Oh my god.
I think. Let me see if that's actually true. I think I heard that.
Yeah, because isn't Madden 2020 supposed to come out or something like that? Or they can't call it 2020 anymore.
No, no, it does say Madden 20 drops long shot mode. Yeah, no, there's not going to be a long shot mode. Man, yikes. Yeah, it's just it's like frustrating. I get it. There's a devil's advocate. There's plenty of people that enjoy Madden, that enjoy FIFA, that enjoy these games. But to me, there's nothing to defend. They've dug their own grave. Yeah. You build a game that is dependent on microtransactions to be worth making.
Yep.
Your game doesn't deserve to be made. Like maybe you shouldn't be making games.
I 100% agree with you, and I think the majority of people who read this article, I've not seen one single comment defend this article.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I mean, everybody hates microtransactions at this point.
And I've seen some people on the actual article itself, like someone try to defend it, but it was so stupid. Like, people are like, oh yeah, I love Ultimate Team. I like that I can create my own team. That's not the point. The point is, I should be able to, if I want to make a team with like fucking Odell Beckham Jr., fucking Peyton Manning, or not Peyton Manning, but Tom Brady on the same team, I should have to go through hoops to do this shit and then earn it, right? That long game. Kind of how, like, not the same game, but like how Grimdall, you make your build, it may take you 20 hours to make this build, but once you got it, it pays off. And I feel like that's what it should do for Madden Ultimate Team. I should have to play players of a shitty team for a while, then I get enough points to earn these players, recruit these players to my team, and then I'm like, man, I finally got the O-line I want, the defensive line I want, the receivers, I earned this shit, like. And I go out and smack heads with my team, and like, I earned this. This is the Detroit Lions I want, something like that. So,
dude, and just like franchise mode, I think I've ranted about franchise mode. In the past,
you did,
but, dude. It's a train wreck. The interface hasn't changed in years. It's still the same interface for the most part. It's been the same for like 8 or 9 years. Guys, I don't like if you need something more telling and obvious that they don't care about that mode. I mean, that's it. It's like the aesthetic hasn't even changed. They've made like minor adjustments here and there. But dude, I remember there was one year they took out because you can start a franchise mode with a draft, like a fantasy draft, and make fantasy teams basically. So you like draft, like you and the 32 teams draft players. Out of you draft all the NFL players, and they took that out one year for no reason. Like, why? Like, they eventually people complained and they put it back in the next year. But it was like why would you even take that out? It's already in the game. Like, why would you even take it out? It's like things like that. Like, what is that being there? Not why? Like, why? You're just taking a feature away.
They probably have some kind of thing where they can see how many people clicked on this particular mode.
That was their justification, is that not many people use it, but who cares? You don't have to. Do you have to do a whole lot to facilitate it? It's like I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't want to talk about Madden anymore. I fucking hate this game. It makes me angry. It just makes me angry. It's like
the audacity of this article.
Yeah, for real, dude. I don't give a shit if these games go away. They deserve to go away because they've devolved into trash.
Yes.
Okay. They don't get to have a place at the table. Not everything deserves to exist. Okay.
Yeah.
We get this. I think this is a mentality amongst the games media where if somebody decides to make a game and they make it, that it automatically deserves to be like a thing and people should buy it. It's like, no, the merit of the game is the quality, right? And the quality of these games is low, so their merit is not there anymore for me. And if this bill were to pass and these games fell apart and couldn't be sustained, I mean, there's no one to blame but the companies. You know, you have to be able to make a game that can sell copies. Like, it's, you know,
I agree.
You can't expect to make $1 billion every year off the same game. You know, every single year ad nauseum. It's like, man, at some point you need to make a quality video game for that to happen. You know,
I agree.
So moving on. Game release dates. So we talked about a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I think now, that Baldur's Gate 2, Planetscape Torment, Neverwinter Nights, they were all coming out on Switch, Xbox, and PS4 this year. And they have been dated. Well, not dated, but... Actually, yeah, they have been dated. So, Baldur's Gate is coming with Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and that is coming on September 27th in the UK, September 24th in North America. And then Neverwinter Nights is coming later. It's coming on December 6th in the UK and December 3rd in the US. So they're going to be physical releases as well. They're going to be box games. They are coming on PS4 and Switch, and I believe Xbox as well. Yeah, Xbox One, PS4, and Switch. So, I'm excited about these. I've like, dude, I love CRPGs. I've never played Baldur's Gate 1 or 2 beyond like an hour. Like, I've never been able to get into them. So I feel like this would be a good opportunity for me to play them. Because I think it's a perfect game to play on the Switch, honestly, for me. So I'm planning on getting the Baldur's Gate one at the bare minimum. I've always wanted to play Neverwinter Nights as well, so I might pick that one up too, maybe down the road. I don't think they gave pricing for these. I'm trying to find some pricing here.
Looks like it's around $49.99.
Oh, yeah, $50. Jesus, man. So, yikes. That's kind of a big yikes. I think the Baldur's Gate one might be worth that. Yeah. But the other ones, not so much. Those are probably bargain bin, buy them when they're $10 games. But yeah. Damn, $50. These games are like 20 years old, man. What are they doing? What are they thinking? That's crazy.
I think they remastered some of them.
They did, but they did that on PC like 7 or 8 years ago.
Ah, okay.
So it's not like I mean, they might have done some additional work obviously to port them, but I don't know. I'm gonna be playing Baldur's Gate probably at some point, or I'll at least get it more than likely. Okay. I would imagine that these are probably gonna be fairly limited. So if you want these, I would probably pick them up relatively quickly after they come out. I don't know how much demand there's going to be for this, you know, particularly on the Switch. Like, dude, I don't know how many people who own Switches are going to be playing old school 90s PC RPGs.
A lot of Switch players are like older people that that do have that have a PCs and stuff like that. Like the PC Switch combo is really real out there. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I love seeing more of these games coming out. I'm happy there's been a resurgence, because there was like a 10-year like dead period where these games were dead and nobody was making them anymore. Yeah. And then Pillars of Eternity came out. As much as I don't love that game, I'm happy it came out because it kind of created this resurgence of interest for those kind of games. And I'm excited that because there was a tease this week for Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah. And Larian Studios, who are the makers of Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, they might be making a Baldur's Gate 3. Okay. That's exciting news. That's kind of a big deal, man. That is an old IP that is extremely well liked and extremely respected within the gaming community. Yeah. And it's interesting because Wizards of the Coast, I believe, owns it. Owns the IP. And that's the interesting part about it, is they've kind of been lying dormant with it, because it's a game based on D&D's rule set. Yeah. It uses D&D's rule set. So that's kind of the interesting part for me, is like, if Larian's making it, what would the rule set be? I would assume 5th edition, but I don't know how well it translates to like a game. Yeah,
because didn't they make the 4th edition or the 3rd edition for like video games?
Baldur's Gate So Baldur's Gate is based off of, I believe, the 2nd edition.
Okay.
Rule set. 4th edition was indeed made to make it easy to translate into video games.
Yeah.
However, it's ironic because that was the time, basically the timing period where these games died and nobody was making these games anymore. So that was a complete flop for them, and they made 5th edition to be more appealing to the masses.
Okay.
So it's kind of streamlined and less complicated, and there's less like granular statistics and stuff like that. Obviously, it's still D&D, but it's like, you know, some of the weird statistics are kind of gone.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's the interesting part about a Baldur's Gate 3. Would it use 5th edition? I would assume it would. That's what they would want to push, obviously, because that's the current edition of the game.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see that. So I'm excited about that too. It's just the thing is like, dude, if I'm gonna play like Baldur's Gate 3, I assume would take place after 2. It's like I'd have to play through both games probably to like get caught up on the story and everything like that, because these games have deep stories and are extremely long and robust games. So, but playing it on Switch, dude, that sounds so fun to me, man. Like playing one of these games on Switch, so I assume it'll run. I would hope it would run fairly well. It's not, obviously they're old ass games, so I would hope the Switch would be able to handle these. But that's the thing, dude. Like, Pillars of Eternity is not a super demanding game either, and that game kind of ran like shit on PS4. I really, by the end of it, I couldn't stand playing it anymore because, dude, going into loading screens was such a nightmare. It was awful. It was like every time you go in, it was a minute, 2 minutes of loading. It's just ridiculous. So hopefully these Baldur's Gate ports don't have that issue, but excited nonetheless. All right, moving on to new game releases this week. I don't think there's much of note really coming out this week. It's been a quiet few weeks for sure. There is Persona Q2 is coming out on 3DS, which is interesting. Octopath Traveler on PC. Journey, interestingly enough, is coming on PC. New Elder Scrolls Online expansion. And then Warhammer Chaos Bane. I've actually been seeing this game floating around. It's a ARPG, it looks like. Yeah. So that's an interesting one. But yeah, nothing too big from my perspective. Anything for you?
Nah, nothing really stuck out for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird time of year. Nobody really releases big games during this time. Yeah. Obviously, because there's just it's just going to get lost in the hype of E3, you know? Like next week, I could see next week having like nothing, you know? But fair enough. All right, let's move on to topic of the show. So we kind of got into this conversation at work talking about esports, and it kind of piqued our interest. And we started getting deep into it, and we were like, man, this would make a good topic of the show. So basically, the thought process here is we both kind of like esports, but we're not deep into it because of the structure of it, honestly. It's we're going to talk probably more specifically about Dota and League more than anything, I would say. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of Overwatch because of some things they've done in this realm. But for me, esports for me is like I really like watching Dota 2. I love watching the International. I think it's such a fun tournament. Yeah. But the problem I have with it is that the reason I don't end up watching it every year is I mean, it's a lot of time investment to watch. But B is the fact that the league, it's not like a league, it's just a tournament. And the teams have player movement that is so insane between every year. It's too much to keep up with. Yeah. You know, it's like the team, like, not say, for instance, Navi. They play every year, they go every year. And their team one year, the next year they'll have 4 different players. Like, it's a team of 5, right? Yeah. So they'll have like 4 different players, and it's like, man, dude, and that happens to like every team almost. It's crazy. It's kind of nuts, and it's like super frustrating because it makes it hard to root for any of these teams because you're not rooting for players. You're rooting for the team, and it's like the team's different every year, so it becomes really difficult for me to get invested in any of this stuff.
And the only team that really stays consistent on the League of Legends side is SK1 or SKT1, I believe they call it. And they have the same people: SKT Huni, SKT Faker and some other people that been with the team since like the old days, and I'm pretty sure their backup roster has changed a lot. But that's the problem. I mean, I have with the, like you said, the esports. It's not really a division. There is a division, but a lot of these teams, when they go to Worlds or like the big tournaments called Worlds or International for Dota, they get invites, so they don't really have to do anything throughout the entire season. Yeah. So, like for instance,
same with Dota.
Yeah, SKT, they get invited automatically because they're a fan favorite, and I think they won the most Worlds in the league. And Overwatch has this new thing where they have teams from different cities in America compete. So you may have
traditional like sports.
Exactly. So you may have like the Dallas All-Stars go against the Detroit Flames or something like that. I'm just making up names.
That sounds like Overwatch team names.
Yeah. But like, I think that's pretty cool. The only problem is I hate Overwatch. Like, I don't like watching it. Rather, I don't hate the game, but I don't like watching it because it's not entertaining to watch from an esports perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I don't find Overwatch entertaining to watch either.
Yeah. But like, I was thinking if League of Legends did something like that, where they had like, you know, different teams, or Dota did that, where they have different team or
different cities,
different city teams within that one, and we have our own little championship conference, and then maybe every 2 or 3 years we have internationals, and then we have a Worlds for like the top competing teams of those respective tournaments or brackets. Then they can compete in Worlds. Like, that would be cool to me. I just don't like the current way it's set up now, because it's like you said, not only is it hard to keep track of the players, I don't know which team to root for, because it's like, I don't know what team this is now.
That's the thing. That's the problem for me, is like every year I watch the International, and there would be players that I really enjoyed watching. I love their play style. I love the way the characters they play. You know, I love the way they interact with their team and stuff like that. And it's like, then the next year, I don't remember who that is, and I don't know what team they're on anymore. Yep. Like, I have no idea who they are. Like, I forget. It's like I don't watch Dota throughout the year. Yeah. So I'm only watching the International. So it's like 10 months later. It's like, I don't know.
Because you feel like everything during the years is not. It doesn't make sense.
It has no impact. Yeah, I don't care. They're not impactful tournaments. They're not really. They don't feel like they have the stakes that the International does. The International legitimately feels like the World Cup for Dota, right? Like, it has significant stakes. Like, everybody takes it so seriously. It's insane. Obviously, because the prize pool is like 30 million or whatever. It's an insane prize pool. So obviously they take it seriously for that reason, but it's just a tournament that has a lot of clout, and it feels. It's fun to watch because of that, right? And Valve always goes like crazy for it. They do all these in-game events, and there's all sorts of shit you can buy for it.
Yeah, and I feel like they should do that. If they want to do internationals every year, make it so where the team has an exhibition where they have to go around the countries or whatever.
We were talking to Blake from work, right? And he's a big soccer fan. Yeah. And what I was saying is make the international like the Champions League in soccer. So, for those of you who don't watch soccer or pay attention to soccer, Europe has a whole bunch of leagues. They have Juventus, they have the Bundesliga, Premier League, and then, all the leagues. And every country kind of has their own league, and then there's some countries that have multiple leagues and things like that, right? And all of those leagues they have their own season, and then the teams compete within the league, and then there's a winner at the end. And what happens is, every year, I think a couple teams from every one of those leagues gets entered into the Champions League, which is basically like a league similar to the other leagues, but it's all the best teams from every league that play each other. And then there's a champion for that. That's the one that's like the real shit. That's the one that people really care about, is Champions League. Okay. Like, the other leagues are depending, like Premier League's pretty big, Bundesliga's pretty big, some of them are pretty big, but for the most part, Champions League is like the real shit, and that happens every year. So have a similar setup for Dota, right? Or League, where you have the international, leave it as it is. It's just a tournament. Just leave the tournament format the way it is. But instead of having the invites and then you have the fucking 3 months of qualifiers that nobody wants to watch, it's like, where you're seeing all these crap teams playing against each other until finally the good ones emerge and become the qualifiers. Instead of doing it that way, make it so that you have leagues throughout the year where you'll have like a USA league or a North American league, say, and then you'll have an Asian league and a European league and then a South American league and a Oceania league and whatnot. And then all the best teams from those leagues compete in the international at the end of the year, right? Because the international is only like, it's not even a month long, so it's a short tournament, so you can do it that way fairly easily, you know? I think you could totally structure it that way, and I feel like it would be better, it'd be easier to keep track of, and it would also mean that the teams that are in the leagues are the same teams that play in the international, too. They don't change their names or anything like that, or they don't change their players either. Yeah. Like, that's the way I would want it.
And it'll be easier to keep track of like trades and things of that nature as well. It'll become a legitimate. I mean, it is a legitimate sport, but it'll become like a legitimacy as far as like tracking and having fans.
It's just hard to take. It's hard to keep track of now because there's so many tournaments and they're so like minor, and it's like some teams don't even go to a lot of these tournaments because it's not worth their time. Yeah. Like,
because you know what, I like watching the college teams because they have. Obviously, I don't know if Dota has a college team, but a college league.
I don't know. I'm not sure it does.
But League of Legends has a college league.
Yeah, I know that for sure.
And I like watching them because obviously I like University of Michigan, so I follow their league and see what they do.
That's cool.
And it's cool to watch because you're like, oh, I can root for my team. And I know what these players do or whatever, but it's just still I'm familiar with that team.
Dude, the brands of these teams aren't established in the way that a Michigan, like a college is, right? Like a college team, you don't care who's on the team. It's like you're rooting for the school,
exactly.
Right? But the teams in the teams in these games aren't established in that way. I don't give a shit about Navi. Like, I care about the players, right? Like, that's what I'm watching for, is the players. I don't care about Navi as an entity. They're just some corporate entity. Like, I don't, like, whatever, dude. It's not a big deal to me.
Exactly.
So, that's kind of my problem with it is I think it's, like, too fractured in that way. And I'm a huge fan of NFL football, right?
Yeah.
I love the NFL. And I would love to see it structured similar to that league or even NHL or MLB or NBA or any league like that where it's more structured, where you have a set number of teams, they're in cities, like it's city based, and it's contracts like are binding. You can't just quit your team whenever you feel like, you know?
Yeah.
You are like, you sign a contract with a team. And honestly, if you were going to do it this way, these contracts would have to be very short. I would say 2 years to 3 years max.
Yeah.
Because these careers for these esports players are fairly short for the most part.
They are.
Like, by the time you're 25, you're like old. You know, people think you're old. It's like, that's how quickly it happens. So, I mean, some of these guys have played longer than that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of... It's not as rare as it used to be, but it is rare, and you have like 2 to 3 year contracts, and you are on that team, and you can be traded to another team, you can be cut, you can be whatever, dude. Like that's the way I would love to see it set up. I know a lot of people don't like people in gaming don't like traditional sports, but there's a lot that can be learned from traditional sports that I think can be applied to esports that will make it really legitimate in a way that it isn't now. I know esports is huge, and like we have a lot of pride about that, and I am so proud of that, right? I love the fact that esports is as big as it is, but dude, it can be way bigger than it is now if you can get the layman interested in things because of the setup of it. Like, if the setup is easy to understand and it's easy to follow, that's how you get mainstream people into it, right? And maybe some people don't want that, but dude, that's inevitable. Like, that's going to come regardless of whether you want it or not. Yeah. So make it happen now, right? Like, why not? And it's like, I think it's a missed opportunity for both of these games, League of Legends and Dota in particular. I don't care about Overwatch. I don't think Overwatch is going to be around forever. But Dota and League they're pillars of gaming, right? I don't think these games are ever going anywhere.
That's because they're established sports now.
They are, yeah. No, they're legitimized in a way that no other game is.
Yeah, they're like like how you can say basketball or football is never going away because you can play those in parks.
Exactly.
You can play that.
Right.
When you play, the way you play Dota and League in parks is you just log into a server, play in pubs, you're good. Yeah. And if you're good enough, the difference is, you don't have to you don't have to be physically able, like have a physical advantage like height or whatever, anything like that. It just goes pure off your skill. So you can get picked up by a team like, man, you're like ranked 32 in your server. Maybe you can join our team or whatever. Yeah. And
well, they're also free games as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not demanding games either. You can play them on a very large range of PCs. So.
Exactly. So, I mean, the only problem with it is probably the toxic community, but I mean, we can solve that by just muting chat. Like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
for sure.
Yeah, I just feel like it is a missed opportunity, like you said. And we already have players like Rick Fox, fucking, I can't think of his name, but his last name is Fox. He used to play on the Lakers. I think it is Rick Fox. I don't know. Let me check.
Well, dude, like, I was going to mention that Overwatch is interesting because the fact that they were the ones to do this, like, legitimate sports business guys, like Robert Kraft and some owners of sports teams, like Robert Kraft owns the New England Patriots. Like, it's just a huge NFL franchise. Like, he is one of the owners for one of these Overwatch teams.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so these guys see the opportunity here, and they're trying to get in early, and they're smart, right?
Yeah, and Rick Fox is the same way, right? He used to play for the Lakers, and he actually owns a league team. And the reason that he did it, right, is because his son plays League of Legends, and his son was like, hey, that I think you should probably get into it. And he was one of the, like, I remember when ESPN and everyone was like so up in arms against video game esports. He was one of the people that were like, hey, I see what these people do. I see how these players train themselves to play these games and stuff they have to go through. Just like we do drills, they do drills. Just like we do scrimmages, they do scrimmages. Oh, yeah. He's like, this is a sport and we have to respect it. And after he started, him and Shaquille O'Neal owns a Counter-Strike team.
Oh yeah.
So when he owns a team too, I think it's called Echo Fox or something like that.
Yeah. A lot of foxes going on.
Yeah. So after I think them two really got into it and like, hey, this is a real thing, there's money in this, I think a lot of other owners started jumping and ship to it as well. Yeah. The thing is, right, I feel like maybe ESPN needs to talk to like Riot and Valve about making some type of like city-based teams.
Well, that's where it needs to come from, is Valve and Riot have full control.
Exactly.
Right? They own the games. Like, they have full control of anything that happens in this realm. So they have to be the ones with the initiative to make this happen, right? And anybody can come to them and be like, hey, we want to do this. But if they say no and they don't want to do it, then it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. The impetus has to come from these two companies. And my problem with Dota, unfortunately, is Valve, I just feel like, is not, like, up to the task.
Yeah.
Riot is much more...
I think Riot
they seem much more willing to do something like this. And I think, dude, I mean, seriously, man, oh my God, just think of it like just start like relatively small, 8 or 16 teams, you know, in North America. And you just play like a regular season, and then you have a playoff, you know, with like 4 teams or something like that.
Yep.
You know? And that's all you need to do to get started. You don't have to do anything crazy. Like, you don't have to make a 32-team league with, you know, like practice squads and all this nonsense. Just start small.
Yeah,
you know?
Just start small.
Start small and then build it up from there. And
yeah, because what I was thinking, right, is like you just have, maybe you do have like a World Cup every World Cup type deal every couple of years or whatever. Yeah. But like, you know, each division, like the EU, Oceanic, you know, the South Korean servers and North American servers, they all have their respective teams. Yeah. And they have their own respective league within those teams, right? Yeah. And championships of those teams. And those winners, maybe every year or every 2 years from those leagues, they come together in a little small tournament, and like, these are the best players or whatever, or the best teams of these leagues, something like that. Yeah. Or maybe like you said, you do like a World Cup type deal where everyone's competing there is a huge thing. Like, you know, there's a bracket in EU, bracket in. I don't know how the World Cup kind of structures itself.
Well, so it's by region.
It's
right?
by region.
So there's a North American region, then there's a South American region.
Yeah.
And then there's, you know, Europe and
So do they have
Asia
teams that?
and,
How do we come to the Team USA? Like, is there little small soccer teams, or it's just a Team USA?
No, it's country, right? It's by
Yeah.
country. So USA puts together whatever team they want
Yeah.
for Team USA of the best players within the United States
Yeah,
that
okay.
are citizens of the United States, and then that is Team USA.
Gotcha.
Right? And dude, no. So this is kind of what I was getting at. Is like, I think it would be a good idea. You keep the yearly tournaments, like the international and whatever league does, like Worlds,
yeah.
right? You keep that. You keep those. You don't have to change. Like, this is the thing. You don't have to change the structure of any of this stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I was saying about start small.
Yeah.
Just do the small league in the United States, pilot it, like try it out, see if it gains some traction, and then keep the tournaments you have, and then eventually over time you can. If the league does get big and you start expanding it out, right, to other countries, soccer is a great example of how to do this properly and how to get people really hyped. Dude, you could do a World Cup where you're literally doing countries, and you don't necessarily have to ape their formula. You could do it a little differently, but I mean, they're doing it right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't like, dude, the World Cup is hype as hell.
Hell
like,
yeah.
People who don't give a shit about soccer watch the World Cup.
Yeah,
you know?
that's just fucking fun to watch.
It
man.
is fun to watch. It's a great tournament because the stakes are insanely high. It's every 4 years.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that play in this tournament, they only get to go to one. You know, some of them, like the better players, go to 3 or 4, but that's not very many guys. You know, most players only get to go to 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You know, so when they're there, it matters a lot to them to win, you know, in their countries to win, because it's so infrequent. You know, it doesn't happen that often. So it's like the stakes are huge. It's insane. The pressure that these guys are under is nuts at the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you're in the final, dude, it's like, I don't know how you don't let that moment overwhelm you, because it's like you're in the final of a tournament that happens once every 4 years.
And it's the entire world that competed in this cup.
Yes, the whole planet. And you're probably never going to be able to experience this moment ever again in your life, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, there was, like, Spain did go to 2 in a row and won, I think they did win 2 in a row.
Okay.
But that is a huge rarity in soccer. So that's the thing about it, is like, so you create a tournament like that, is inherently high stakes because of how infrequently it happens, right? So it's like,
you can get the hype train behind it, the monetization and everything.
I'm telling you, I feel like people would be into this.
Yeah,
man.
people will watch it, because I remember I had a coworker back in my old job. A coworker back in my old job, and I used to tell him about League of Legends. I used to watch it on my desk, and he's like, he was middle aged. He was probably at the time like 39 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he had a guy with kids and family, and he was like, hey, I watched that, it was actually on ESPN3, and I watched the game. He's like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but I was into that shit. Shit was getting hyped. Yeah. I'm like, oh, so you actually... He's like, yeah, I watch it regularly now, because that shit was really hyped to me.
Yeah.
So,
it's fun to watch. MOBAs are fun to watch, dude. It's they're so interesting, like, that they're unique. Like we said, we don't find Overwatch fun to watch because it's just a shooter.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a fucking shooter. Who cares? Like MOBAs they have the structure of a sports game.
Yes.
Like, they just do. Like, they have rules, very specific rule sets. The only thing that makes them different is the fact that there are limitations based on the developer and then the engine the game is in.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
That are outside of everybody's hands. Those are really the only differences, right?
But the things that players do within those limitations are insane.
Yes. Oh, dude, the plays that these guys make, it's like anybody that belittles esports players is just an ignorant moron.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what Rick Fox was saying too. Yeah. He's like,
you are an idiot. Like, you have no idea. Like, they do shit that you could never even dream of, like, in these games. It's wild. Some of the plays that I've seen happen, they make me lose my mind. I'm like screaming, like, holy shit. Like, it's dude, the shit they pull off, like, they pull off plays where, like, they're getting dominated the whole game and they can't win a team fight to save their fucking life. And then all of a sudden they fight, like, in the middle of the game. And they get, like, one player has this perfect ultimate drop and wins the fight for his team, and then they push and, like, you know, win the game off that. And it's like,
it's been games won off that shit.
Oh, I've seen that shit all the time.
And that shit's hype as hell.
It's so hype. It's insane. It's crazy because, dude, there's live audiences at these things. Yeah. It's like, dude, they're going crazy, right? And you can hear them in the background. Like, it's nuts. It's so fun, dude. So it's like, it's there. It's there. They just have to, if they want to make it truly huge, they just have to do a few things to, like, make it that way. Like, dude, if you put these teams in cities, that will make it inherently more interesting to people because they live there, right? Like, how many people do you know that don't give a shit about sports but still like they'll follow scores for, like, the Cowboys or, you know, the Rangers or something like that? It's like, people do that, dude. It's like, even if you don't care, it's like, well, it's my team, you know? It's my hometown team, you know? This is where I live. This is my team, you know? So that same thing could happen for Dota and League as well, you know? If they wanted to make leagues like that, and I really think they should. I just don't. The thing is it's just like, I don't know how. I haven't gone super deep into it from a research perspective, so I don't know how much interest there is on their front in doing stuff like this. Like, if they're just happy with the way things are and they want to grow it slowly the way they've been doing it, or if they truly want to make it huge. Well,
I don't know about Valve, but I know Riot has explicitly said they want to make, you know, esports as big as NFL. Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest Worlds, I think, was like in 2016. That one had more views than the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Well, the reason why is it's easy. It's on Twitch.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to pay for it.
Yep.
Right. So that's easy to achieve. The problem with that is turning that into money. Yep. And that's like, you're getting a bunch of Twitch viewers. That's not going to get you money. Yeah. You know? Like, it might in a small ways for, like, advertising purposes, but it's like, so that's the thing is, like, when you have the real league set up, oh man, it'd be so much cooler. Like, you could have, like, a draft and, you know, all this stuff, dude. Like, oh man, it'd be so interesting to me. You have teams like Trade, and, you know, you have a roster with, you have your starting lineup.
It will be interesting too, backup players. You'll probably have players that are, like, of all ages, man. Yeah. Like, old and new, that just go into the draft because they're so good, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that can come out of something like that too is you have these rosters of players where it's like you have a starting lineup, but maybe between games, like you play a 5-game series, right? Maybe between games you can swap some of the alternates in, so it's not like this rigorous thing where you're playing 5 games of Dota in a row every single day for like years and years and years and like murdering yourself to do it. Yeah. Like, you have like alternates you can swap in to like give them a break for game 2 or something. You know, and stuff like that. Similar to the way sports does it, right? Like baseball, like, they don't play every single game. They have nights where they take a night off. Yeah. You know? Same thing. So maybe you don't do it between games, but maybe it's like you play a 5-game series, and then the next night you go to a different city and play a 5-game series, and then maybe a couple players don't play in that, so they have a rest day or something like that. Yeah. You know? Because the way it is now is you have Navi, say, and you have 5 players, and those 5 players play in every single game. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So it's like super rigorous. You're murdering yourself to play this game constantly. So I think that's another benefit that could come out of it, too, is that it would be better for the players, you know, if you had a league set up like this where you can have rosters and have other players, and there'd be more players kind of coming up, having an opportunity to kind of come up and be something, you know? Yeah. Because the way it is now is it's really hard to break into, because the guys who are there, they just stay there, you know, the ones at the top. Yep. So, I don't know. Do you have any other closing thoughts on this? Or?
Nope.
That's it. That is going to wrap us up, I guess. It was a good conversation. It was a good show. You know, hour 45. We're never going to get under an hour 30. Never. All right, well, if you liked this hour and 45-minute episode of The Player's Take, please like the episode wherever you're watching it, review it wherever you're watching it, and then subscribe to the show. And if you could share it with your friends as well, we really appreciate that. We are trying to grow the show. if you want to talk to us on Twitter, Montrell is iTrap4 the Hokage. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at ThunderNet01. The podcast is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us questions, those can be sent to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. We have still yet to get a question from anybody. And we're 23 episodes into this, and God damn it, I just want to answer a question.
Hey, man, it's all right. We're still a young podcast.
Man, just get your girlfriend to send us a question. All right, just get her to send us a question. Be like, hey, why you guys sound so stupid? I'll be like, you know what? I don't know. But that's going to be it for this week. Next week is E3. I think we're probably going to delay the recording in order to see all the conferences on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because that's when all the big ones are. So we'll probably record Wednesday. And we're going to be up Friday as normal. But it's going to be a big episode, probably. I expect this will be closer to...
Probably 3 hours, maybe?
It depends on how much gets announced. Yeah. But it could be one of those. It could be so close to our Kingdom Hearts review.
Oh, my God.
Kingdom Hearts 3 review episode, which is our longest episode ever. So it's going to be a beefy episode, but I'm so excited. Oh, my God. I love E3 so much. I'm sad that Sony's not going to be there, but... honestly, I think it gives us an opportunity to really explore Microsoft's strategy and exclusive lineup. So that is going to be a big show. I'm happy we got here. I was thinking about this when we first started. Like, man, I can't wait to do E3. And look, here we are next week, man. All right, guys. That is going to be it. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one. All right? Bye, guys.